Hi, my name is Carrie Aborn, and I'm the Director of the Center for Career Development here at Curry College. And we are so excited to have representatives from Transformative Healthcare, Fallon Ambulance, here with us today to talk about the Fallon Fellowship. So we have Tyler Richards, and Tyler is actually an alum of Curry, and he graduated in 2012 with a Bachelor of Arts in Communication with a concentration in theater. And I love Tyler's story because it just goes to show that you really can have any major and go into any field that you are interested in. So Tyler is currently the Manager of Special Projects and Programs with Transformative Healthcare. And then we also have Danielle Thomas. She is the Vice President for Systems Integration at Fallon. And she is also a nationally registered paramedic, an NRP. So with that, I will turn it over to Tyler, who's going to talk about the Fallon Fellowship.
Hi, everyone. I want to start by saying how warm my feelings are to be joining you today, talking to you about an opportunity that is near and dear to my heart, that I'm now presenting to a school which is so near and dear to my heart. You guys know Curry tradition. We bleed purple and we love Curry until the day that we leave this earth, and it still is evident for myself. I'm very excited to be back involved on campus, although in a professional manner now. It's very exciting for me to be here today. Before I go into this presentation that I've created, I just want to make sure, does everyone have a vague understanding of what this Fallon Fellowship is? Like, do you all know what you're receiving an info session for? Please speak freely.
Roughly, but like information too would be good.
Good, okay. So the goal of today's presentation is to hopefully clarify anything that you might need. And if you do have questions, save them for the end so we can, just get through the presentation. Myself and my colleague Danielle will be speaking as we move along here. So a little bit about Fallon, because you heard us introduce as Transformative Healthcare Fallon Ambulance. So Fallon Ambulance is a large provider of pre-hospital EMS, emergency medical services, in the New England market with a significant presence in the Boston area. The company has been around for nearly 100 years as an ambulance service, and it has evolved significantly as the profession has evolved. 100 years ago, ambulances were actually Hertz vehicles, like the funeral director vehicles, and we would just, you'd have ambulance drivers who would show up to your house when you were sick, and they'd bring you to a doctor, and hopefully they could fix you up. We've evolved now to having many different levels of provider that are actually healthcare providers. We have paramedics, advanced EMTs, and EMTs. And, we operate in a very large footprint in the area. We're contracted to provide services to Partners Healthcare, which has just recently changed its name to Mass General Brigham. So you guys will be seeing that more and more in the healthcare field in our area, which last year, for that contract, we delivered over 100,000 patients to and fro wherever they needed to be in the pre-hospital environment. We also provide 911 emergency services to several contracted towns. Milton is one of them. So you guys may see you might have seen Fallon ambulances before at like football games, hockey games, or any sort of event on campus. We also provide 911 services to the towns of Brookline and Dedham. And interestingly as well, Gillette Stadium, if you are a fan of football or soccer or concerts. Our motto for as long as I can remember, and far predating me, has been patient safety and comfort. And that truly goes into how we onboard new patients. That motto rings true with our culture, and it is something that we are deeply focused at delivering throughout every facet of our industry. Working in healthcare, we treat thousands of patients a year, hundreds of thousands of patients a year, all different walks of life, all different families. And what a message from the leadership has always been is that we want to treat the patients that we see as we would our own family. So it is something that we will instill in you should you join our program. So that's Fallon Ambulance. Transformative Healthcare is the parent company that owns Fallon Ambulance, as well as Lifeline Ambulance, another brand in Massachusetts, and Stewart's Ambulance Service, which is a large provider in New Hampshire and Maine. Transformative teamed up with Fallon some 2 years ago, bringing with it some serious executive leadership, financial investments, and a whole assortment of technological solutions that were developed to better manage emergency medical services in the 21st century. A big feat of accomplishment for us over the past few months is we contracted with the governor's office really to deliver COVID testing to all of the publicly owned facilities in the state of Massachusetts. Ostensibly right now, the majority of ambulance services in the state of Massachusetts are subcontracted to work with us as we conduct all this testing. And Danielle can correct me on my numbers, but I believe at this point, we've tested over 30,000 just residents of the state of Massachusetts for the COVID test. We are the #1 provider of pre-hospital health services in the New England market space between our 3 brands by volume. Simply, we transport and treat a lot of patients. Cool picture of me from the field. Although I do not get to work in the field as much as I would like to, I am an advanced emergency medical technician by trade. That's kind of how I started in the EMS agency. Started my humble beginnings back at Curry. In 2012, I graduated with a degree in communication, concentration in theater. I come from a medical family, so truthfully, I always knew that I would get involved in medicine in some capacity. I just wasn't quite sure how I would do that when I was 20 years old. And you have me now about to complete my master's in public health and working for a very large ambulance service. I'm the manager of special projects and programs at Transformative Healthcare, which is really like a jack of all trades job. I work with Danielle very closely. We work on clinical providership. We run education and training, as well as strategic initiatives that are utilized by the business to make it run more efficiently. Sometimes that's called performance improvement. A couple years ago, we started our Northeastern program, which we'll talk a little bit about more shortly. And that is kind of what the Curry Fellowship is modeled after. We had some great success with Northeastern and wanted to share it with Curry. Danielle, very cool individual. You can see her in action right there with the ATF, probably an ATF agent. Danielle, correct me if I'm wrong. Nope, it's right. Danielle's an ambulance industry veteran. She's very well recognized in the nation as a leader, a mover and a shaker, and an agent of change. You know, she is on the front of making EMS modernized and better in the nation. The United States has come a long way since our beginnings, working with police stations in those Hertz vehicles, but we are still one of the youngest disciplines in healthcare. EMS started in the United States really in the 1960s, and it is one of our great interests, and I'm speaking for Danielle right now. I think it is so interesting because it is so rapidly evolving and has so much further to go. Danielle has a lot of responsibility. Her title of Vice President of Systems Integration leads her to govern almost the entire organization, I would say, whether it's meeting with the executives and leadership at Partners Healthcare, Mass General Brigham, to negotiating with new towns or contracts, or maintaining clinical excellence through education and training. Very involved team player who's all over the place, but is leading us to wonderful change. Also, Danielle is a nationally registered paramedic, an excellent paramedic who I would trust with my own life, and is one of the first civilian graduates of the Tactical Medical Operators course through the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives, the ATF. So not only is she really book smart and really medically inclined, but she is also really cool, gets out in there in the field and gets herself into danger and gets it over the goal line and keeps the people who are protecting us safe. So like a little bit of the Northeastern program, I can share with you that's running currently. This is we're going into our third year of success, and it's grown tremendously from its beginnings of 6 Northeastern students who didn't know what they were getting into to our current class size. It's almost 40 people, 40 individuals who are all kind of like you. They're either pursuing pre-med, nursing, or CJ. So as you guys might know, if you have any friends from Northeastern University, they have 6 months a couple times throughout their tenure as undergrads to do these things called co-ops, where they go out for 6 months, they don't do traditional, lecture with a professor, and they go get experiential learning. As a, young undergrad, I remember, all my friends in the nursing program at Curry, my friends in pre-med and pre-sciences throughout the universities, they were all fighting to stand out amongst their peers, right? And this is one of the ways that you do it. You show that, not only am I good on paper, not only did I do well in classes, but I am also well-rounded in experiential learning. Like I have had practice already in a healthcare setting. So that's kind of, we noticed, there's a lot of college students who were coming to us looking for either patient contact hours or experience in the healthcare world. So, Danielle and I conceived kind of this program to aid and abet that, right? We just wanted to say, hey, like these young people are coming to us for this. How can we help them be better? And how can we help them get better? So, we're like, let's make a program out of it. Let's bring these people in. Let's teach them how to become EMTs, because, becoming an EMT when you're an undergrad student, you don't have a lot of money, can be quite expensive. It can be challenging to figure out how to accommodate EMT school with your classes. So we created this EMT school that we stood up and we got accreditation for, and we learned how to do it with college students who were used to working in a school setting and used to, being under pressure to, do well on tests and do well to ultimately pass. And then graduated them to become EMTs, put them to work, and then mentored them for the time that they were here through what we call the weekly leadership series, which we can talk a little bit more about in a minute. The program started with 6 people who I'm still in contact with today, and some are in graduate school at this point, some are taking gap years, but they've all, a couple of them got to medical school, a couple are PAs, and some are taking gap years right now. But they were all just lovely, lovely individuals who were working hard at Northeastern. They had great GPAs, they were well-rounded, and they just wanted to, help in their community, and they just wanted to stand out. Getting into graduate school now, I've noticed, is a lot harder than it was, for me several years ago. It's more competitive, and these schools know that they can have their cake and eat it too, right? You can have a great GPA, but you also have to be able to walk the walk and talk the talk. So it's nice to be able to line your resume, with experiences like this one. It doesn't have to be this one. I hope it is, but that's something why we created this program. So just a quick overview of what we really do. We take, from either Northeastern or from Curry, a select amount of students who have applied, who've interviewed, and who've demonstrated that they'll be able to, handle the academic rigor that's required to go into the program. And we sponsor them through an EMT course that's slightly accelerated. Most EMT courses take anywhere between 3 and 6 months, and we kind of crunch ours down into about an 8-week period. So for the Curry and Fallon Fellowship, we're going to start this initial cohort will launch on September 9th. It will meet 3 days a week. And by the first week of September, you will be testing with the state of Massachusetts and the National Registry of EMTs. And by mid-November, if all, knock on wood goes well, you will be a certified EMT. You will have a certification to work in the state of Massachusetts, a certification from the National Registry of EMTs, which allows you to translate that certification to several different states, really almost all of the states across the country. There are a few that are not in line with that. We also have a weekly leadership series, which I think is a wonderful addition that we put into the program, where once a week, while you're working for us as EMTs, you'll actually come in or probably participate in a Zoom style lecture, living in the present COVID world, where we bring in industry experts from across the nation who are established leaders in the field of health and public safety, right? These people are, physicians, Department of Homeland Security experts, startups for multinational corporations, insurance experts, EMS safety experts, etc., who will sit with you for a 2-hour lecture. Once a week, you get a different presenter, and they'll talk to you about how they, came to their current position, what they studied in school, and, explore the avenue that they specifically focus in. I think one thing that's challenging for undergrad students who are interested in pursuing public safety or health careers is, you get these blinders that get put up on you to, I got to get good grades. I need to do well so I can either be competitive when applying when I graduate school, or I need to be competitive so I can go to grad school. But you lose sight in that sort of rat race of all the different opportunities that are truly available to you, right? Carrie mentioned to you guys, my undergrad at Curry was comm, and I concentrated in theater, and now I work in a significant public health fashion doing policy and research and governance, right? So what we aim to deliver with that leadership series is to show you the breadth of the health and public safety community, so you can see the different options available to you. Maybe today you want to be a physician. Great. Maybe you go to medical school, but did you also know that you could be the CEO of a startup in New York City? I don't know. You're going to get clinical experience. You're going to work in emergency medicine. This is not an internship where you are, watching someone do the job. We are going to teach you how to do the job and then give you the certification that allows you to do it autonomously, right? So you're not pretending to do this. You are doing this. You are immersed in it. You will work in our very busy system, which again is, heavily involved in the healthcare institutions downtown Boston, as well as 911 services in the communities around the city. This training, whether you go into public safety, nursing, physician model of health, or stay in EMS, if you please, you will take what you learn here and translate it to wherever you go after this, right? This is a foundational experience. You're going to be able to learn the public safety skills, working with police, working with fire, working with municipalities. You're going to learn how to do patient assessments. You're going to get patient contact hours, medical assessments that you can take with you into whatever practice you're doing. EMS does take after the physician model of healthcare. However, our #1 colleagues are really nurses inside the hospital, where they're kind of our point of contact. And I think that's really important. I think you guys can take a lot from that with you to wherever your career leads you. This is one of my now friends that she's graduated our program. But Ava, this is just what she had to say about our program. She's one of our Northeastern people who is now finished undergrad and is going to graduate school. So the length of our program is 6 months long. For those students who are interested to stay on with us in a part-time fashion after the co-op is, or not the co-op, the internship is concluded, you'd be welcome to do so. We have a major base of operations in Dedham, right behind Curry College. We offer shuttle services during the actual, training period while you're involved in our internship, but it certainly doesn't have to end when the program ends. You're welcome to stay with us through your tenureship at Curry College. Again, there's the EMT course, it's company sponsored, and you're going to receive the credentialing and certification beyond just that of EMT. There's also AHA, BLS, CPR. We could teach you how to become CPR instructors. There's a litany of certifications in the public safety and EMS world that we can offer to students who are interested. And of course is one of the things that our company provides free of charge to its employees, which even though you guys are in the program and our students, we would still consider you employees if involved in the program. Some key takeaways for the program, of course, are the initial training, which, generally in this region is worth around $1,200, right? To become an EMT, it's going to cost you a little over $1,000, and that we sponsor right to you. You're going to receive great experiential learning that is going to not only make you look good on your resume, but also give you something to talk about to your interviewer. So you'll always be able to rely on that. And in my personal and professional experience, I know it goes a long way, right? It's really important. It's going to make you stand out from your peers. You'll receive ongoing mentorship, not just from me, but people who are bigger and greater than me, like Danielle, and the leadership people that you get to meet and receive lectures from. You'll be put into contact with them. You'll be able to network with people in the municipalities that we serve, as well as in the hospitals that we serve as well. So that's physicians, researchers, nurses, techs. You're going to see the world the way that it actually is, not the way that it's taught, right? You'll see it and you'll know what you like and what you don't like out of it, which I think is super important. This will serve as a foundation for the rest of your career should you choose to continue to pursue public safety or health. I know it has served as my foundation. I started as an EMT back in the day, and I moved up to a higher clinical role and then decided that research and policy is where I was best suited. So I went down the public health route. You guys may think that you're wanted to be a PA today, and maybe tomorrow you're like, wait a minute, nurses actually run the show and do all of the healthcare in the hospitals. I need to be a nurse, right? I don't know what happens to you, but I know that it's impactful to the people who are involved in our program, and it's something you can take away and something that's real and that you can hold. Another great thing, Fallon has such a large footprint, and we attract many people, not just from Northeastern, but not just from Curry. We have people who have been in EMS for a long time. We have people who are here who have made a career, but also a lot of other undergrad students who are hoping to do similar things to you. They may not be involved in a program the way that you are, but you'll be able to network with people from BU, BC, Tufts, and just grow your social network, which is also an exceedingly important duty of all undergrad students. The more people you know, the more money you can make. So that's kind of the presentation that I have for you guys today. again, it's very exciting for me to present this to you, and I'm really happy to be involved. Thank you.
Tyler, can you talk about the courses and the schedule for this coming fall?
Yes, so the schedule is going to meet Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Mondays and Wednesdays are in the evening, and Fridays are in the afternoon. The exact dates, the exact times, I believe, are on the Curry website already, which you can refer to. I think we're going to post in the chat a couple links for you all. It will run from, it starts September 9th. The cohort starts September 9th. We'll meet Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and that will go through the first week of November. After that first week of November, you will have tested at that point and taken your state practical examination. During that time where we are waiting for your results, we will put you through a company orientation and onboarding process, which lasts for about 2 weeks. And then you will, after that, move on to working as an EMT on the road. We will find shifts that work for you. We request, or part of it, you know, the requirement is of this program that you're going to work 16 hours a week. The program is also 16 hours a week. We did that for consistency. Does that answer?
Yes, perfect. So let's open it up to questions. You can type your question in the chat, or feel free to unmute yourself and speak with Tyler and Danielle directly.
I have a quick question. So after the September to November timeline, do we have to continue on with you guys, or could we stop once we receive our EMT certification?
Yeah, so the program duration is 6 months long. So you need to be with us for 6 months, and then you can decide what to do. That's kind of like the deal you strike, you know, where we're providing loads of free education and loads of networking and mentorship opportunities. You know, we are also hoping that you work with us to compensate for that.
It's a pretty good deal.
I think so.
With school sending us home on the 24th, and then we're like taking finals at home, how will the program work for students that are out of state? Like, do we come back the next semester and we continue to work with you guys for like the following 3 months, or are you guys having students work over winter break?
I really didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Ismay, it sounds like your sound isn't really strong, but it sounded like you were asking, if you're out of state, can you, how does that work if you're going to be going home during breaks? So, Tyler, I would assume that students that go home during breaks and are not local can pick back up where they left off when they come back. Is that right?
Yes.
Ismay, does that answer your question?
Yes, that answers my question.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have a question in the chat. Is the fellowship also in January of 2021?
So we will run an additional fellowship. We haven't decided on the exact start date for that one, but yes, there will be a spring offering as well.
And then we have another question from Timothy. Since Timothy is in California, he's taking his NREMT this Wednesday.
Woo.
What is the process for trying to work in a different state?
So NREMT states have reciprocity. So you can, truthfully, you petition the, you know, we call it in Massachusetts, Office of Emergency Medical Services. You can apply for certification. There's a process that we can help you through, but it's a simple process that just involves you paying the state fee.
And then Timothy, he could be in touch with you then for potentially being able to work with your organization?
Yeah, so the big thing with me and Danielle is we're always available. Phone, email, whatever works, we're here to serve.
Thank you.
So Carrie, real quick, I just wanted to add on to your answer to Ismay's question. So for those of you who are out of state, who are interested in taking the program and will go home right before Thanksgiving, typically students return after Thanksgiving and then are in the area for the month of December. However, we recognize that the college system will be a little bit different this year. So when you return in January, if you have been cleared, you'll resume working as an EMT. And if you are still part of your third riding or clearing time and training time, then we will resume that and you'll continue to work through the time until the program ends.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
We've got another question from Julia. She has class Wednesdays until 6:45. How would that work? Or would that work for her?
So the interesting piece about this schedule, although we've set it 16 hours a week, some of it is synchronous and some of it is asynchronous, which I'm sure through all of COVID, you guys have become very familiar with. So there are times on Monday and Friday where we will be doing Zoom classes to actually teach live in real time. And then the Friday will actually be a practical time where you'll, is it Friday or Wednesday, Tyler? Friday, right? Yeah, Friday, where you'll come in to actually learn the skills and do the hands-on practical piece. But 100% of the didactic component must be held online, whether it's live synchronous education or just online and asynchronous education. So the Mondays and the Wednesdays, the Mondays we'll be doing some sort of live Zoom, and then the rest of Monday and all of Wednesday will actually be asynchronous learning. So it's a time that's set apart for you to do your online education to complete the didactic. So in that case, because it's on a Wednesday, specifically to you, you would be able to take it. You would just have to do a little bit more work a little bit later to accomplish it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I have a question along with that. So you said that it's like a online kind of like Zoom thing for Monday. Would those things be recorded if we had class? So like half the semester I have clinical until 7 p.m. and then I have classes like Julia does, and then Friday I also have classes.
Yeah, so the Monday, Friday Zoom component will be live and in real time. So depending on the number of applicants, and it seems like we will have a large amount, we do want to be flexible given that this is the pilot program. So if there's a consensus about, class times and things like that, or if someone needs an extra half an hour, we can work with that. However, the Zoom or live components, there's a couple lectures that we wanted specifically to do live because they really focus on interacting with the group and asking questions and kind of dissecting and having a conversation more than teaching at you. We really don't believe in that mentality. So the Zoom and the live will facilitate us being able to truly make sure that everyone has the information they need, and more importantly, how to apply said knowledge. So the live component is also serving as a check-in to make sure that we can do questions and answers with people. Operating in COVID times and doing all of the didactic component of the education remotely can be really challenging for students and for the teachers, because especially in a hands-on world that healthcare is and that EMS involves in, we want to show and touch and feel and say, like, do you get it? Yes, I get it, right? So those live check-ins are to be able to really go back and forth. So we do require 100% participation, but with that being said, we have a little bit of flexibility. So there's several recorded lectures that you'll be able to access to go back to make sure that you get the information. We will end up recording the other sessions. So if you can't make one or miss the beginning of one, you will have access to it. However, it is highly recommended that people are able to attend everything in person, but we understand that schedules have conflicts and things happen.
Okay, thanks. And then I just had one more question that I was a little confused. So when Mr. Richards was talking, he was saying like the application process, and that kind of like confused me. I never saw like a link or anything that we write all of our stuff down.
Yeah, so in the chat box right now, if you scroll up to the top of it, Joanne nicely placed the link from the Curry page. And in that Curry page is actually our Fallon application for the Fallon Fellowship for Curry students. So you can access it directly from there. And once you apply, you'll be able then to be contacted and set up, again, a Zoom interview with one of us as well. So it is a two-part process, part one being the application and part two being that individualized interview.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have one more question. What's the acceptance rate for the students applying?
This is a great question. This is our pilot program with you guys. So I'm not sure. I can't answer that question. It looks like there's a significant amount of interest, and it will be blocked off at 16 people and limited for the reasons of the practical component of it, and that it's a really competitive opportunity. And Fallon is donating really a lot of funds to this process to make it work. So that's why it's limited. Just to give you an idea, in the Northeastern program, we have over 150 applications, and we selected 37 for this last cohort. But again, it wasn't because we didn't have great applicants. It was a competitive opportunity, and we have limited space due to the hands-on teacher to student ratio to learn the practical component.
Okay, so you'll be cutting it off at 16 students?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct, 16.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Can you talk a little bit about the application and interview process and maybe what students can expect? And then if a student is not chosen for this round, what would your advice be to them about potentially applying for a future round?
Yeah, so the application that we've built on our website it starts with just simple demographics like your name, your contact information, and then requests a letter of interest or cover letter and your resume. We're looking for well-rounded students who've proven themselves academically. The initial part of the internship is becoming an EMT. It's no small feat, right? You are an emergency medical technician. You are going to be trained on how to, possibly intervene and save a human's life. So there's a great onus of responsibility on you, which is why we want people who are proven academically. We need you to be able to come in and do this program. Full participation is dependent on that. So we'll review your resume. We're looking for demonstrations of passion and enthusiasm and a good academic record. And if chosen, you'll then be set up with an interview on Zoom with either Danielle or myself. We're going to ask you interview questions geared at determining if you are right for the program, right? We want to see that you are interested in public health, public safety, or a career in health. We want to see that you're passionate and involved, and you're not just checking the boxes, right? We want great people here to add to our already established culture.
Thank you. And I'll just make a quick plug for the Center for Career Development. If any of you want help putting your application together, working on your resume, doing a practice interview, we are available. We're here all summer, and we'd be happy to help you with that process. You can make an appointment with us at curry.edu/ccdappt. We've got a question from Lauren in the chat. If we want to do the fellowship in January, do we apply now or later?
You should apply later.
So the answer is apply later. And I know Danielle has another announcement to make, but before I have her do that, does anyone else have questions about the process for applying or what it's like to be an EMT, about the fellowship in general, training? Danielle, you and I were talking earlier, and you mentioned that there are actually some job opportunities right now. Do you want to go ahead and talk about that for anyone who's local at the moment?
Absolutely. Thank you, Carrie. So we do have an interesting opportunity that's available. And I know that some of you might actually be local. We heard a couple of Boston people. If you're looking for unemployment, paid employment, or interested in starting with us before your program, we do have a flexible opportunity available now in regards to COVID testing. So in order to do testing in the state of Massachusetts, you have to be a certified EMT or paramedic. However, we have a role that supports the testers that's called a safety monitor that works one-on-one with those healthcare professionals and goes into sites and does testing. So we have a very short couple of hour training that we require people to do, where we teach you about PPE, personal protective equipment, teach you about COVID, about testing processes. You would actually never be doing the testing, but you would work collaboratively with the testing teams. And so if anyone's interested in public health or interested in making some money, it's a really great way to not only get compensated and save up some money, but to give back to the community in these crazy pandemic COVID times. One of the biggest ways that emergency medical services in our company is kind of giving back and helping is trying to identify those who are sick and work with the state to keep those who are sick confined to a certain, areas, et cetera, in quarantine to stop or slow the spread. So I'm sure that everyone by this time, months into this, has heard of, we wanted to reduce that curve. And we did that successfully in Massachusetts. So we're literally one of 7 states in the country who handled this well and drove results. The other states in the country, as you probably know from the news, inclusive of California and Florida and Arizona and Texas, are really making the news right now because their ICU bed capacity is almost at 0. And Massachusetts was there a couple of months ago. So flattening that curve didn't necessarily have less sick people, but it allowed the healthcare system to not be overwhelmed. So all of those sick people got the care that they needed to keep the death toll down. So now that we know what we're dealing with and know how to appropriately protect ourselves to not catch COVID-19, because it's still a lot of unknowns about the disease, but we know how you can't get it. So we actually give back to the community in the form of doing this testing as our organization. And it's made some pretty significant waves in Massachusetts in regards to being part of the solution. So we do have that job opportunity open. There is going to be, Carrie and her team are going to post that job opportunity for the safety monitor within their system, which is great. But additionally, our names and email addresses were put in the chat box. So you guys can go through that and grab either my email address or Tyler's email address, not only if you have any questions about the Fallon Fellowship that we discussed today, but if anyone's interested in picking up a month's worth of work that's flexible. The minimum amount would be 1 shift a week, which is 8 hours. And then we have up to 40 hours a week of full-time and overtime available as well. So if you're looking to work a little before you go back to school, or to add something additional to your resume and really help out and give back during these COVID times, this might be something that would be good for you. Additionally, you would already be an employee of our organization, so you would get to know us, and you can evolve really well into our EMT program because several of the same people are involved in that. Thank you.
That sounds like another great opportunity.
I have a question. How do you apply for that?
Yeah, so to apply for that, you can go through the job listing that will be posted with Carrie's team. But additionally, if you're very interested in it, go ahead and drop me an email to the dthomas@fallonambulance.com that was put in the chat box, and just say, hey, let's start talking about that right away. We'll get our human resource team involved. We'll get you the application, and we have immediate openings for that.
Thank you. And we do have a question in the chat, which is from Letitia. Do we have to apply again in January if you don't get a spot this time?
Yes, you should apply. Well, you're obviously going to have preference, if you were a wonderful candidate, but you should reapply.
Very good. And the job that Danielle was just speaking about will be posted on Curry Connect within the next day or two. And Joanne put again the email address for Danielle if you want to reach out to her directly to inquire about that position. So keep an eye on Curry Connect, keep an eye on the Center for Career Development newsletter. If you're not getting our newsletter, let us know so we can make sure we add your name. You can also keep an eye on our social media accounts, because we post, the Center for Career Development posts all of these kinds of opportunities and more every day through social media. So our handle is @CurryCCD. Make sure that you're following us to stay on top of all of the awesome opportunities that we have available. So we're coming to the end of our time. Does anyone else have any other questions now that we have this opportunity to hear from Tyler and Danielle?
I'll just add that if you guys are thinking about applying, get your application in sooner rather than later. The interviews will be kind of first come, first serve. So if you get selected and passed on to the interview phase, obviously we want to make sure that happens. The program is not too far ahead. Carrie and I were talking earlier that your school starts in just a couple of weeks, and that's just right around the corner. And September 9th will be here before you know it as well. So be as proactive as you can if you're interested. As we mentioned, it would be highly competitive. I'm looking forward to seeing all your amazing applications. You guys seem like a really good group of people, and we're excited to work with Curry and with you all.
We do actually have a deadline for applications, and it's at the it's August 1st. So definitely get your application in before that. We're calling that our priority deadline. If there are still spaces open, we would continue to accept applications, but August 1st is the deadline for the first wave. And I know Tyler mentioned to me today that he's already interviewed 3 Curry students for this opportunity. So definitely get your application in as soon as you can. Any final questions? All right, well, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to stop the recording, but we are going to stick around in case anyone wants to talk with Danielle and Tyler before we end the call. So thanks for joining us.